I found a satanic website on the deep web. It was horrible, to say the least. It all started with me deciding to browse the deep web that one night. Look, before you judge me, not everyone who roams the deep web are psychopaths that hire assassins and sell weed online. It has many uses, and it is different from the dark web, which is where psychopaths that hire assassins and sell drugs are. Why was I using deep web? Well, privacy, curiosity, and piracy. Besides, it is off the point. What I'm trying to say is the deep web is mostly harmless, and you don't really encounter stuff like what I encountered. There is a Tor site, a deep web site, that takes you to a random Tor site. Kind of like a search engine with only I feel lucky part. Not knowing what you are going to get is exciting, and it is actually entertaining. For example, I have been to many sites that discuss exotic conspiracy theories, like lizard people and aliens. See? Most of the time you get to a place where crazy people argue about crazy stuff. In one of them, 2 users were in a heated argument about the color of aliens. Are they gray or are they pale blue? You idiot, they are from Sirius and they're long pale blue idiot. The fuck you talking about? Aliens, as we know, are from Mars, and there are pictures of them. An old video shows dissection of one. Aliens are gray and there's proof. Idiot, those fake. Real aliens are far away, not Mars. And so on. You get the point, right? There were some odd and interesting ones that I want to share with you people. For example, there was one for real-life treasure hunts, where people would hide something valuable and others would try to figure out where. Their efforts and the lengths they've gone through to decipher stuff is amazing, and I would go to that site every once in a while. Once, someone shared a semi-hard treasure hunt with a surprise treasure, and people got to solve it. Once they did, they have found a body. I am serious. The one that found the body called the police and showed them the website to tell them how he'd found it. The site was disabled for a few days until one of the creators helped police find the murderer. After the murderer got caught, the site was back on, but with an added policy of showing the treasure to the mods before posting. And there was another one, which seemed like a typical conspiracy theory site to me at first. It was about a man who they called the Collector. According to them, he was an immortal time traveler or something, and he appeared in many places during important events, collecting data. Hence the name. The owner of the site claimed that he was now a billionaire living in the shadows, still collecting or something. He wasn't quite sure of any of it though, saying that, although he appears constantly throughout history, he never really does anything much, not that I nor my fellow researchers know of at least. He continued in his next message, stating that, but this doesn't mean that he won't ever do anything. In the end, he is an immortal time traveler that collects data, and you can't trust someone as such, especially when they are a billionaire. As again, I thought that it was a funny conspiracy theory at first, but then I saw him looking at me from the street. Actually, no. I will come to that part. In time. First, how I fucked up to this degree. The Tor site that brings people to a random site, this time, ended up taking me to a discussion site in which people talk about their favorite Tor sites, which was fine by me. New sites are always good. One of the hot topics was the search engine I was using to get to random sites. People there were supportive towards the engine I was using, saying it is the ultimate gamble. However, there was an anonymous user that suggested another Tor site with the same purpose, saying, "Guys, it is cool, and all, but it only searches through normal Tor sites. It is kinda lame, so use this instead. This one has even bigger pool of websites, and it is not normal only. You'll not regret it, I swear." His phrasing wasn't to my liking, felt a little weird. But knowing it was only 11 o'clock and I was getting bored, I decided to give it a try. Like a fucking idiot. I don't want to get into much detail about this site, because I don't want anyone snooping around and finding it out. So the only thing I want to tell is it was black with a red Find a New Site button. I made sure that it was not a shady download link, and I clicked it. The first site it took me to was one with red writings and probably an Asian language I didn't understand. It had symbols and pictures of dragons in it. It was weird, but not so weird. I closed the site and clicked the red button again. This time it was Arabic. It had pictures of swords and the new moon. I was getting bored of it. Then I found out that they had an English version that they'd linked right at the bottom of the page. I clicked it and saw that it was a page calling people to jihad. I looked around a little and closed it when I was bored of it. On the next page I opened was nothing at all, except for a small red circle in the middle. I clicked it and came a fart noise. Annoyed, I closed it. Red button again. This time I saw a woman crying. Then a man came, holding something, and actually I don't want to share this part. In the end, I was disgusted and horrified. I decided not to use the red button again. I mean, I thought finding new, weird things would have been entertaining, not creepy like that. But the things I'd found were different, and to find something similar to those felt exciting. My heart was beating a little faster with the adrenaline. I knew I had to click it again. Who knew what I'd see? Illegal drugs? Guns? Cannibalism? I clicked. God damn it, I clicked. The page it brought me to was not okay. It had nothing. No name. The URL just read .tor. And it had a video with a circular play button in the middle. Instead of saying what in the fuck is this shit and closing the site for good, I decided to watch the video. So I did. The video was black and white, showing a billiards table. There was only a ball visible on the left side of the screen. Then, a gloved hand put the white ball on the right and hit it, making it go towards the other ball. It was in slow motion. The white ball started rolling towards the other ball, and when it hit the ball, instead of the force acting upon the ball and making it go left, both of them started rolling to the right, together. It didn't look edited, it looked real, but in a weird way. That made me uneasy, like everything I knew was shaken. It is a feeling hard to describe. That video made me a little sick, too. I turned on the lights and decided to walk around a little in my room. I looked out the window, so quiet and nice. Everything made enough sense. I touched my left hand with my right hand. Real, and hands act the way they should. That video had something surreal, but shown in reality. Unreality in reality. I turned back to my bed, where I was lying down with my laptop before. The video was over anyway. I would close that site, the red button site too, and turn back to my precious random search engine. I turned the lights off and got back to my bed. But instead of a reply option of any kind, the site now had a button with next written on it. I didn't know what was next, and it excited me. I clicked. I think I am addicted to gambling. The next video started playing automatically. It was black and white again. There was a priest reading from the Bible. There was no sound, but his lips were moving as he... Wait, I thought. Did he just turn the wrong page? Yes, he did. He, instead of turning the page on the right to see the next two pages, turned the left page and started reading them from bottom right. The video was on reverse. Weird, I thought. Then the video ended. Unsatisfied, I clicked next. The first thing that piqued my interest was a pentagram. This video was also black and white. I guess every video will be black and white in this site, I murmured to myself. Anyway, there was a white pentagram on top of a dark table. A gloved hand came to the vision and put a cockroach on top of the table. The cockroach, at first, wandered around, doing nothing in particular except being disgusting, like cockroaches always are. Then, it had found the pentagram. It followed around the line to the bottom left corner of the pentagram. It stopped for a short while, then started walking on the lines of the pentagram. It walked the route necessary to draw the pentagram. Bottom left, up, bottom right, upper left, upper right, bottom left, up and so on. It did this for a while as I watched it, with excitement. Then something even weirder happened. The cockroach, as it reached the bottom left once again, kept walking, but it did so in place, without moving. Like a mime. Then it started moonwalking like fucking Michael Jackson to follow the reverse of its route. Bottom left, upper right, upper left, bottom right, up yada yada. It was disturbing and weird. This time it cut short. The video ended before the cockroach finished its first loop. Disturbed, disgusted, and shocked, I still pressed next. It was a short video, showed a line of naked man. Most had boners. That's it. Only 2 seconds, naked man with erect penises. What the hell was my reaction? I clicked next. This time, it showed the priest again. He was reverse talking faster. He looked a little pale and in hurry. His nose was bleeding, only a little. As he turned the page, I saw blood on his fingernail. The video ended. Next. There was a pentagram, again. This video was shot from above like the other one. This time, however, there was a naked guy walking on a pentagram. I made the sound conclusion of this pentagram being bigger than the one I saw the roach walk in, then realized how unnecessary that thought was and kept watching the video. Just like the cockroach, he followed the route normally at first, then in reverse afterwards. Yet, it was a little different this time. Before he started walking backwards, he shook a little, looking just like my friend Jake, who got electrocuted while playing with a fence. It was odd as hell. This video ended with him completing some tours backwards, then getting out of the pentagram to be replaced by another guy, who started walking the route just as the video ended. Next, I saw a naked woman with her back turned to the camera. Her dark hair was wavy and slightly messy, and she had the upside-down cross tattoo on upper left of her back. The video ended. I, a little more excited now, clicked next. A man, crying in a graveyard. Crying backwards. The video was taken from far away, for some reason, and it being in black and white didn't help. But if you looked hard enough, you could see tears rising from the ground and getting into his eyes. They are only as big as pixels, but if you really look close enough and squint your eyes you can. Then a black bird got to the view of camera, flying backwards. Yup, it was backwards. But my eyes gazed upon something awful. The same naked woman from the previous video was walking towards the man. Even though the video was on reverse, she was walking straight towards that guy. As she got right next to the guy's eyes sucked the last of the tears they could and looked at her. The video ended there. Holy shit, I detested. Next. The priest was back again. He was as pale as a human could get. He was bleeding from both of his eyes and nostrils. The cross on his neck was, every once in a while, trying to rotate on its own. Every time this happened, the priest fixed it. Other than that, he was reading from the Bible in reverse like crazy. Even though the video was silent, the movement of his mouth indicated him shouting like a madman. Every time he turned the page, his fingers got in frame. His nails were pouring blood. The video ended, and the next button was visible again. What kind of demonic shit is this? I asked to no one in general. It was scary and I was home alone. This was something that was not meant to be seen by someone like me, for sure. This was way above the insanity I could endure without having nightmares for my whole life. Yet I clicked the button. The next video made me regret it. The video was taken in a darkly colored room, with one light that is bright enough to show what was going on. It was black and white. Again, the line of naked man was there. This video showed where they were headed, to that naked lady. She was looking at the camera. This time I noticed even weirder things about her. She had pentagram tattoo on her left chest, and she was wearing a sleep mask, the kind that has eyes of cut animals on it, but this one had goat eyes. So what? I thought. Goat eyes in black and white. How creepy could it get? Oh boy, it got worse. The first online was super excited, as I could tell. Well, she stopped looking at the camera, turned to him, and gave him a long kiss. First, he was all happy about the kiss he was receiving. Then, he started shaking his arms uncomfortably, and when they finished, he started shaking like he was having an epilepsy seizure on foot. Then he suddenly stopped, his body inhumanely arched back, like he was one of those weird running titans from Attack on Titans, and kept on walking. I felt like throwing up, but I kept watching. The same happened with another man on the line. Receive the kiss, have a seizure, body arched back, and keep on walking. I noticed some other details as I kept on watching. For example, the guy's walking patterns had gotten the same after they got the kiss, even though they had been different before. Not only that, but their pupils expanded greatly just as they received the kiss, making their eyes a horrifying dark afterwards. And yeah, one of the guys was the guy crying in the graveyard. The video stopped. I looked at the next button very hard. Very, very hard, not sure what to think or to do. I clicked it. The priest was back. His Bible was soaked in blood, just as his eyes, nose, mouth, ears. Literally everything and everywhere was soaked in blood. He was this time looking directly at the camera. Angry, scared, pale. His cross was turning around and around without a care in the world. He shouted words to the camera. Every time he opened his mouth, blood gushed out, yet he still seemed to be in reverse. He directed his pointing finger at the camera. It got soaked in blood. It was kind of funny, for some reason. Almost like a weird finger water gun, pointing two fingers at others to squirt water. You could see, despite the camera being covered in blood, him shouting more and more. Each time more blood came out. Blood was gushing out of his ears, eyes, nose, mouth, even skin. At last he erupted. Yes, erupted. His head exploded and what came out was, well, you guessed it, blood. Too much blood. Way too much blood. The video ended, and the next button stared at me once again. Fuck it. I clicked. A pile of dead naked man in a white room, black and white, with dilated pupils. Something caught my eye, a tattoo on one of the men. It was familiar. But why? I looked at the man. It was my friend William from college. William. How could I forget about him? I was so close to him and then he. Who was I thinking about? I said to myself out loud to refresh my memory. It didn't work. I looked at the dead man in the video again. William. It was William. But why and how could I have forgotten about him? In mere seconds, that is. I, in order to test this new and horrifying phenomenon, looked away while thinking of William. His face, our memories and my thought of him, all seemed to vanish in mere seconds, and when I tried to remember, it was like trying to catch a fog. I shivered and looked at him again. I had to do something. I had to learn what happened to him. I tried to remember his relatives and realized that I had forgotten his name again. Looked at the video again, which was still going but nothing was happening on the video. William Jackson. His mother's name was Maria. Yes, Maria Jackson. I searched Maria Jackson. Yes, found her. Searched her profile to see if was stupid enough to share her phone number in social media. Yes, she was. I looked at the clock. 3:33 a.m. When did it become so late? I wondered. Then, I entered her number, called her, and started waiting. To my surprise, she answered. Yes? She asked. Hello, is this Maria? Do you know what time it is? She asked. I'm sorry, but I got a question to ask. About your son, William. She was silent for a long time. William. She started crying. My sweet William. Why? A short pause. Her crying got worse. Why can't I remember my sweet William? I didn't know what to say, so I stood silent. What? Who is this? She asked after a longer pause. And why am I crying? I'm sorry, she said, recovering from her cries. Did we talk about something? Jesus fucking Christ. I did not shout to indicate that we talked about Jesus, nor to cry my love for Jesus Christ. I shouted and threw my phone somewhere in fear because the naked woman was on the video and she was looking directly at me. While watching the kiss-themed video, I wondered how her eyes looked like under that goat eye-shaped sleep mask. Well, she herself had goat eyes too, and she was looking directly at me, not at the camera, at me. With all this panic and fear and adrenaline inside, I still noticed the small detail that the video was no longer black and white. It had color. Good to know, right? She was right next to the bodies when I first saw her. I wanted to close the window, but there was no cursor for some reason. And as she started walking towards the camera, no, towards me, I noticed I was also unable to move, frozen in fear. She came closer and closer and closer, until the whole screen was her head with those fucking goat eyes, looking at me. She opened her mouth. Her teeth were black. She said something in a language that I assume is Latin. Her voice was horrifying and commanding, and tempting in a way. Now, she looked better to me. I mean, she didn't look bad before, but now she was. Tempting. And I started to move towards her, to the screen, where she was waiting for me. What ended the trance was the buzzing sound of my phone, to inform me that either a message came or I was about to be murdered by that freak on the laptop. I quickly backed away from the laptop. She was as surprised by my reaction just as I was. I quickly grabbed the edge of my laptop to close it, and, okay, maybe you somehow managed to believe me in my story this far, and I appreciate it. But I can understand if you choose not to believe what happened next. I really do. Because you know what? I still can't believe how she, as I grabbed the side of my laptop, plunged her fucking arm from the laptop screen and gripped my wrist. I, as expected of a person in my situation, cried out with fear and tried to get free of her grip. She was strong, however, so I did the first thing came to my mind and punched the screen with my free hand, hoping it would get across and hit her in the face. It did. Thank God it did. Then, I was free, with my left hand still in the screen. I quickly pulled it out to see an angry goat lady looking at me and hissing through her black teeth. I screamed, threw the laptop to the corner of the room, and noticed that it landed right in front of the door. I, thinking that getting out of the room was now impossible, got to the corner of the room, still looking at the laptop, and tried to find something, anything. There were 2 pencils, one sharp and one broken, and a lamp. Fuck, I thought to myself. That is when she started crawling out of my laptop, and I noticed something that had a chance to work, if I was lucky enough. As she managed to climb out and get up, she looked at me with anger. Then her anger and her hisses suddenly stopped. "It's working," I shouted, both to her and to myself, and a little bit to God, as I was holding the cross I made by holding the 2 pencils vertically. I was happy to see that her angry and bloodthirsty mood quickly turned into laughs. She fucking laughed. So that is why she doesn't look angry anymore. She plunged at me with inhumane strength, making me hit the wall behind me, head first. Everything went dark for a short moment. I felt overwhelmingly dizzy as she grabbed me by the throat and pulled me towards herself. I, fearing for my life, tried to hit her with my hands. Instead, I ended up stabbing her in the cheek with the sharp pencil I had. She backed away in pain. I needed to attack again. The lamp. I took it and hit her with it, smashing the lamp on her head. She fell down in pain, randomly throwing around punches and kicks. Oh, by the way, I noticed that she had goat feet too just then. That is why I decided to hold my distance from her kicks. Instead, I threw random things at her that I'd found in my room. My half-full beer bottle from that night, some books, a bottle of water, other stuff at my desk, cigarette lighter, and even my pillow. Look, I don't know how it ended up this way, but I can tell you, for certain, that after a while of throwing things at her, by what I believe to be either random and unexpected chains of reactions or divine intervention, she started burning. Right in the middle of my room, screaming in Latin and in agony. I did not know what to do, and for a second I thought of using water to put out the flames for some reason. That thought died quickly. Then I noticed that she was not burning and crying in between me and the door, so I decided to get the hell out. I closed the door behind me, found my baseball bat somewhere in the corridor, and started waiting right in front of the door, listening to her screams, half expecting her to open the door and start attacking me while she was still ablaze. But it didn't happen. Her screams faded into nothingness, and I, with great courage, opened the door. No smoke, no burned naked lady, nothing. It was my room, a little messier than before, but still. As I looked around, I noticed something all of a sudden. I could now remember William. Somehow, burning her must have brought his memory back. I looked around to make sure no danger was left around, and I started looking for the phone to talk to William's mother. I didn't really question why it was my priority. I really wasn't in a mindset to question anything. But then, when I saw the guy I mentioned before looking at me across the street, I lost my previous thought. He was doing nothing but looking at me. I looked back at him and realized he was the one from the collector website. Long, old glasses and a weird hat. Wait, I thought, forgetting the guy in a second. What about the laptop? With the fear of something similar to that naked lady coming out of my laptop again, I started looking around for the laptop. It was on the floor, in good shape, but the screen was not in my view. With great fear, I picked the laptop and looked at the screen. The next button was staring at me. I felt like I needed to press it.